In this video, I'm going to be talking about translating shapes up and down and snapping things to grid. So I've gone over to Tinkercad, I've signed in using my Google Plus account, and let's have a look at translating. So I've got a cube and it's sat on my work plane, and if I use the cone to move it up, there's a measurement that appears instantly, and that says 0 millimeters because my cube is on my work plane. Then if I move it up, you'll see that at the top of the shape is the distance I've moved the shape from its starting position, and at the bottom it tells me how many millimeters I'm off the work plane. Now if I unclick and click again, it instantly tells me I'm 4 millimeters off the work plane and that I've moved it 4 millimeters. So by moving it 4 millimeters from its original position this time, I'm now 8 millimeters off the work plane. If I move that around, you can see, so I've got two measurements there. If I unclick, it will always tell me how far off the work plane, either above or below, and how far I've moved it from the original position. Then I'm going to put it back on the work plane. Next thing we're going to look at is snapping to grid. And snapping to grid is changed just here. I've either got these options, and these are all in millimeters at the moment. And if I go to edit grid, I could change the units of measurement, and I'm going to stick with millimeters. So at the moment, when I move this cube, it moves by 1 millimeter at the time. And you can see as I mouse over it, there are two red lines which appear at the vertex which the mouse pointer is closest to. And that's the point where the measurement is taken from the distance I have moved it. So if I click and move, you can see I've moved it 10 millimeters in one direction, and now I'm moving it 10 millimeters in another direction. And the point of measurement changes. It's always the closest vertex. So there you go, those red lines appear, and the measurement will be taken from there. Or there, or there. So keep an eye out for those red lines, especially when you're trying to move things accurately. Next up is changing the distance that things move. So as I said before, this cube will move 1 millimeter at a time in any of the three directions. I can change that to 5. So this time it will jump by 5 millimeters at a time, which is quite useful if I want to make sure that these two shapes are side by side. But if I want to make sure that they're touching just a little bit, 5 millimeters isn't going to be very useful, because next time I move this, it moves a whole 5 millimeters into the shape. And this shape is only 20 millimeters long, so I lose quite a lot of my shape. So if that was the case, probably change it to 1 millimeter, and I'd just move it a little bit before grouping to make sure that when it prints together. Or I could even change it to 0.5. So just going to group it. The advantages, I can be more accurate. The disadvantages is harder to control. So you need to make that decision. I suggest as a default, I have it on 1 millimeter, but that's down to you and the level of accuracy that you want.